This show was taped hours before the trade deadline. If there was a last-minute trade, you won't see it here.
Oh, that's exciting.
All right. Yeah.
What? All right, look, if Cam Newton's out there in your league and he's on the wire in 55% of ESPN leagues, I think you ought to make a bid for him. Yes, Ron Rivera announced Kyle Allen will start in Week 9 against the Titans, but I think the idea that Allen will keep the job long-term may have ended on Sunday. Newton is certainly a speculative ad, but if you need someone for this week, there's a big drop-off.
Do the cape now!
Yes.
Do the cape! Oh, Waiver Man is
We're
hurt.
talking a drop-off all the way to Sam Darnold. I know, 7 interceptions in the last 2 weeks and seeing ghosts week before Halloween. But the Jets' schedule over the next 6 weeks is so easy, it's hard to believe it's real. 6-37 combined record of the Jets' next 6 opponents. 6-37. And those teams give up an average of 20.9 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. That would be QB6 for a quarterback over a full season. I know there's risk there, but the teams Darnold is about to face actually worse than he has been of late. As for the rest of my quarterback pickups, Daniel Jones just threw 4 touchdown passes on Sunday. He's rushed 4 times in each of the last 2 weeks, so he has a relatively high fantasy floor. Gardner Minshew has posted 20-point fantasy weeks in 3 of his last 4 games, and this week he gets the Texans, who have allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, and Derek Carr, coming off his best game of the season against Houston, gets the Lions next, who allow the 7th most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Who's your top pickup at running back this week?
Waiver Man likes Mark Walton of the Dolphins. With Kenyon Drake gone, Walton becomes the clear RB1 in Miami. But he should get enough touches to be a low-end flex play.
It's super weird, but honestly, I kind of agree with you, Waiver Man.
Thank you, old citizen. Can you please bill up my cape for me?
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Fine. Waiver Man is always prepared. I brought my own fan. Okay. All right. So here's that one. And then, hold on. Okay.
All right. I'm just going to continue if you guys don't mind. All right. So after Mark Walton, my number 2 running back waiver wire pick this week, Darius Geis. Look, still working his way back from injury, but my 1-win Redskins have 0 reason to ride a veteran like Adrian Peterson the rest of the season. Geis did see 13 touches in week 1 and get a lot more action once he returns to the playing field he's already started practicing. My top handcuff off the waiver wire remains Alexander Mattison, somehow still out there in more than 80% of ESPN leagues. Mattison also has immediate flex value. Over the last 4 weeks, he's averaging nearly 11 touches per game. And in deeper leagues, you can take a look at Raheem Mostert, especially if Matt Breida is going to miss any time. I would use this time, if you don't need a running back, to pick up their handcuff.
Waiver Man also likes Raheem Mostert. Look at my billowing cape, old citizen.
It's not billowing.
It is billowing. Just pretend. Look at it billow.
Wow, you inspire the masses.
I know. Waiver Man loves you, kids, and all the old people out there.
Thank you. Can I get the movie rights to your character? My top wide receiver waiver wire ad this week, Philip Dorsett of the New England Patriots. Yeah, not a great week at wide receiver on the waiver wire, but over the last 2 weeks, Dorsett leads all New England wide receivers in routes run. Josh Gordon hitting the IR. Dorsett is now the team's primary deep threat, okay? Not really worried about Mohamed Sanu. My top receiver on the wire is Dorsett.
Whoa there, Barry. This Dorsett bum is your top waiver wire pickup? Shows what you know. How about this Darius Slayton kid? Everybody's saying he's the new Odell Beckham Jr. for the Giants. 2 touchdowns on Sunday against Dobbs Lions. That's who you want to slurp up off the waiver wire.
Thank you, Strymon. He never lets me respond. He just pops in and then he leaves. But yes, certainly, I like Slayton, and I certainly like him in Dynasty or Keeper Leagues. It's hard for me to imagine him finding targets in an offense that also includes Golden Tate, Evan Ingram, Saquon Barkley, and once Sterling Shepard returns, Slayton is literally like the 5th option in that passing offense. I will say, I love the Giants' fantasy playoff schedule. Eagles twice, Miami, and my Redskins, 4 teams in the bottom half in terms of fantasy points per game allowed to wide receivers. So keep that in mind with Slayton and the other Giants pass catchers as you finalize your late season roster. But as for week 9, waiver wire wide receivers, here's my full list. How about Anthony Miller? Over 50 yards now in 3 straight games as his role continues to increase in that still emerging Bears offense. And yes, Kenny Stills, certainly a disappointment last week. However, he played on 96% of snaps and is a viable play for as long as Will Fuller is out. It's wrong to stereotype people, am I right? Personally, I have to remind myself of that all the time because, well, I work with Daniel. And if I didn't know better, I would think that because Daniel looks ridiculous and offers absolutely no value to the show and only wants to be on television to show people his nipples, that because Daniel's like that, it would be easy to think that all Daniels are like that. But that's simply not the case. Thank you, Daniel. You may go. Wait, what? Brings me to the Texans. Just 4 times in their 17-year franchise history have the Texans had a tight end finish in the top 12 at the position in fantasy. So it's easy to think that all Texans tight ends are worthless. But Darren Fells has played himself into fantasy relevance. After 2 more touchdowns and 6 receptions on Sunday, Fells is up to tight end 15 in fantasy, but since week 3, he's the 4th best tight end in fantasy. Oh, by the way, he's also available in more than 85% of ESPN leagues. Go get yourself some Darren Fells. After Fells, here are the rest of my Week 8 tight end ads. Dallas Goedert has actually outplayed Zach Ertz over the last 3 weeks. He's got a touchdown in 2 straight games. Jonnu Smith saw 7 targets filling in for Delaney Walker, and if Walker misses more time, Smith will once again be a viable fill-in this Sunday. And finally, Chris Herndon. I know we keep talking about him. He's still working his way back from injury, but in Week 8, Jets tight end Ryan Griffin was the leading scorer at tight end, so Herndon might have good value in this Jets offense going forward. What are you waiting for? Tune into the Fantasy Show with Matthew Berry all season long, streaming exclusively on ESPN+.